Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2. Please no book spoilers in the comments. So, not like last season, this season we are just jumping right where we left off, and it's really always pleasant opening an episode where you see a bloody blanket, and we are reminded quickly of what has just happened, and Aegon is freaking out, and this was earned because, like I said in my episode 1 review, we got to see how much he really cared for his son, Jaharis. Now, Alicent will feel bad, obviously, about this child dying, but really feels for her daughter, Helena. Helena has been one of the few innocent characters in this show, and to see her suffer this will clearly break Alicent's heart. And it's also interesting that Rhaenyra will also say how innocent Helena is and how upset this has happened to her. Alicent will say, "The gods punish us, gods punish me." And Otto says, "For what sin?" This is her feeling guilty and feeling that maybe this is karma for what she's been doing with Criston Cole. Now, that shows you how Alicent is. This is the Alicent we knew when she was a child and she was mad at Rhaenyra doing this, sleeping around and not being honorable. And it's just crazy that she is now doing the same thing and actually doing it with Cole like Rhaenyra did. This is also setting up at the end of the episode. She's about to tell Otto what this sin is and what is happening with Cole, but she does not because he says he'd rather not hear it. But in true Game of Thrones fashion, the best moment after all of Alicent saying how bad all this is, that Otto's like, there's still some good that may come of this. So you're like, okay, here we go. It's crazy though when we see Aegon's tantrum in the council room that he asks Cole, where was he? And Alicent's panicking here because she knows Cole is an honorable person, or he wants to be, doesn't want him to spill the beans because we know that while that was happening, Cole was boning Alicent. And we also see in the psychopath in Cole that him being asked by Aegon, where was he? You'll see Cole say the same question to Sir Eric and just take out what he felt from Aegon onto Eric. I laughed out loud at Aegon's nickname for Rhaenyra. He calls her the bitch queen of bastards, the smug C word of Dragonstone. Now, Otto actually has a very smart plan here as the hand to take advantage of the narrative. Turn the people against Rhaenyra. This actually works out and a good thing for the war, and that people would call her a monster slayer of infants. And he wants this public funeral to happen so people see the child. Now, this gets really dark because we know they find the child's head in a sack and they attached it to the body. So you see the visual of Jaehaerys' head stitched on. Otto wants Jaehaerys to die in honor, he says. He says Jaehaerys will do more for us now than 1,000 knights in battle. It's a great line, but that also will get a callback by the end of the episode when Aegon says, Cole has done more for us now than 1,000 old men. He's teaching Aegon the slower game and patience. He literally says to him, you will have your warrior grace, but if you wait yet a short time, you will double your strength. And he's right. And in a classic Alicent moment, she's the one who convinces Aegon at the end here just to go with it. And Otto's like, great. And he says, Alicent, you're going to have to go and be public in this funeral. And she's like, no, I don't want to, basically. But this is a huge hit of reality for Helena being a queen. She is the queen, and she's usually just away in her room, not minding the citizens or her duties as a queen. And she's like, I don't want them closer. I don't know them talking about these people. And Alicent says sometimes we have to pretend. So already this is breaking through that innocence in Helena. It's that just moment in life that happens to you, or all of a sudden you're forced to really face your responsibilities and be an adult, and in this case be a queen. And I love that Alicent's trying to slip in during this conversation like, hey, you know, about what you saw at me and Cole, but we see that Helena can't even talk about that at this moment. Her mind's obviously elsewhere. But now we know that she's someone who knows about that. And again, I just feel like Cole's undoing is going to be Lord Larys here, and he's going to get word of this somehow, and I feel like he's already on to Alicent's up to something in the late nights. Now, speaking of Lord Larys, he shows up to Blood, who is the guard who was part of this killing, and he shows up with this torture kit, and Blood doesn't even hesitate. He spills the beans just seeing the torture kit. And Aegon will come in and club him to death. So it's the beginning of Aegon going the vengeance route in this episode. Now you see during this public funeral, you'll see Helena actually has a panic attack here, and you really feel for her and her going through all of this and facing this, also grieving her son, but also having to go through publicly putting him out there and putting herself out there while she's grieving as a political move. Now, checking in with Rhaenyra, she is obviously upset about what has happened, and she says, like I said, Helena is innocent, and she knows what it's like to lose a son. She would never wish that on her. And of course, Daemon's just smirking during all of this, so clearly Rhaenyra is not an idiot and is going to want to speak to Daemon about all this behind closed doors, and that's exactly what's going to happen in this great scene when Rhaenyra confronts Daemon. And she's confronting about this incident, but then all the dirty laundry gets aired here. But she says to him, if Aemon was not found, what was your instruction then? Now remember, we in that moment, when they asked Daemon what to do if they don't found Aemon, he just looked at them. They didn't make that clear to the audience. We don't know if he actually said murder another Hightower child. That is just implied. And that clearly was a choice because they wanted to make more of that mystery in this scene from Rhaenyra's point of view, where, yeah, as the audience, you're like, yeah, he definitely told him to do that. But, you know, it leaves a little doubt, maybe, because he keeps saying it was a mistake to her, and maybe they'll pull a card where he actually didn't say that, and that maybe we are too distrusting of Daemon. She says, I cannot trust you, Daemon. I never trusted you wholly, though I wished to, willed myself to, and this is where complications of lust and love gets in the way, especially someone who is your right hand. And she says to him, but now I see your heart only belongs to you. She goes, have you used me as a tool which to grasp at your stolen inheritance? So again, all that dirty laundry's coming out. I really love this scene. We get to see those kind of things clash, that they think about each other and about Viserys. You see at that line, Daemon, that rage comes back. He looks like he's about to lay his hands on her again like he did at the end of last season, but he holds back. And she says, do you accept me as your queen and ruler, or do you cling even now to what you think you lost? So again, just great writing in this scene. But you'll see that Daemon's saying that he was afraid of being outshined, King Viserys, of his glory, and that she was just a tool to be put in his place, and that he was afraid of him. But that's when Rhaenyra's like, he was not afraid of you. He cannot trust you any more than I can trust you. But I think for Viserys, there's probably a little bit of both truth in what they're saying. But Daemon, again, keeps reiterating it was a mistake about the death of Jaehaerys. Either way, it really put them in a terrible position, especially Rhaenyra having that happen. And what's really I love about this episode is our king, Aegon, and our queen, Rhaenyra, having problems with their right-hand men and like a little breakup happening. I love too that his own daughter Bela walks by him and says hi. He just ignores her, and she will see the mess in the chambers, and that's why she's going to ask Rhaenyra's like about her dad, and she says he must follow his own path. And we cut to Daemon on Caraxes looking great, and he is off to take Harrenhal. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I also think it's interesting, and I like they kept this character consistency with Rhaenyra, that Jace had volunteered to her to watch over King's Landing and do that duty. But Rhaenyra quickly shut that down and then has Bela do it because she just lost Luke to duty, like going out on the dragon. She's not risking that again with Jace. Not right now if she doesn't have to. And I love this moment they have Rhaenyra playing with her little boys that she had with Daemon and feeling that guilt about what happened to Jaehaerys. And I love that he has a little dragon toy. That was great. Now, we see Criston is feeling shame, and he is the Lord of the Night's Guard. This is on him. And he sees that bloody bed, and he basically says to Alicent, there's no absolution for what he's done. So at this moment, you are just waiting for Criston to explode. He's such a fascinating character because he's a complete psycho. He is just that person, maybe a friend, maybe just someone you know as an acquaintance that loses their cool at every sporting event or at a bar, a complete definition of a hothead. And he goes and takes out all of his frustration on Sir Eric, but he's also got a plan behind this. So he tells Sir Eric to clean his cloak. He said the white cloak is a symbol of our purity, fidelity, talking about the Knight's Guard. And this is so hypocritical. He doesn't want to be reminded that he isn't doing that. He is having sex with Alicent, which is against the code, and keeping that purity. Then he just starts messing with him. He's like, where were you? But I like in this moment, Eric actually asks him back why Helena doesn't have a sworn protector. I thought that was really interesting. Why doesn't Cole have a sworn protector for her? That is a huge mess up. But Criston quickly ignores that and changes the subject to his traitorous twin. Says he's a disgrace and you must restore it. So you're just rolling eyes at this guy Cole. He's so unlikable. And he wants him to restore it, though, by his plan to slay Rhaenyra, which is actually a pretty clever plan in taking advantage of that twin aspect. He says, put down the pretender and end a war before it begins. So he's already sounding like a hand, Criston Cole. Now, after this scene, we hit the only thing I didn't like about this episode, which is just something where they put all these little character moments and checking in with other side characters. It's like just a slow patch, but I wish it was spread out a little more and not like laid on so thick where you're kind of like, okay, there was like 15 minutes there where you almost check out a little bit because it just like goes away from all this excitement. Then it goes to the slow patch and then it gets back to the excitement at the end. But I wish maybe they saved one or two of those scenes for the next episode, or maybe spread them out maybe even a little bit in the beginning and not just do all the fun stuff in the beginning and fun stuff at the end, because it kind of slogs a bit here in the middle. That starts when we see this scene with Jace and Bela talking, and I get it, it's important for character, but I just wish they didn't pace it the way they did and where they put it in the episode. But in these moments, we'll see that Aemon, we learn, was at a brothel when the attack happened, and he's actually at a brothel now in this scene. He's proud that Daemon wanted him killed. He's like honored by it. He thinks Daemon's afraid of him, sees him as a threat. And he cuddles on this prostitute he's talking to like a child and having that motherly figure with him. So he's got that Homelander fetish going on, if you watch The Boys. But he still feels guilt about Luke. So there is still a human part of Aemon. I love about this story is that you keep powerful characters on each side, like an Alicent, like Rhaenyra, and especially too like an Aemon and a Daemon. We also see Alan here. This character we met last episode, now we meet his brother Adam, and he's encouraging Alan to sail with him to Corlys. Again, this is patch where it really kind of slowed down a bit. And then we see Rhaenys tells Corlys she knows what Daemon is feeling, having felt like you lost something that was owed to you. But she doesn't think Daemon will challenge Rhaenyra to the throne, just that he won't take orders, which is a very good read. But they talk about hoping he can take Harrenhal and it will look better for him because right now he's missing when he should be there. But she says she will not let the queen falter with the protection of herself and her dragon, Meleys. As though it's interesting, when we go to Rhaenyra and she's in her quarters, she's reading up, it seems, about Vhagar, which is very smart. And just to at least throw you a little moment there if we're looking in the book. But that's going to be important. And then she talks to the White Worm. Important line White Worm says to Rhaenyra is, Daemon, Otto Hightower, makes no difference. They will never accept me. I might as well have remained a whore. When she says that, that strikes a nerve with Rhaenyra because she can basically say the same thing about her experience with men in her life who just won't take her seriously. Now, what is important about all this is that Rhaenyra does the honorable thing, keeping her house's word, which was Daemon telling the White Worm he would let her free if she gave him that info. She honors that. She definitely felt sympathy for the White Worm's backstory of growing up a slave and making it on her own, but she will be rewarded, let's say, by the gods in this show for doing this just act, being honorable, because the White Worm's the one who's going to see the twin and warn the guards. So that was huge. That's the thing about Game of Thrones. You'll see sometimes, not much, but sometimes you'll see honorable acts by characters we like a lot get their reward in a spiritual kind of essence, that there's just something there giving back, which I like. Before we get to the crazy twin sequence, we do see a King's Landing. Aegon just hanged all the rat catchers. So he's tapping into his Joffrey moment here. It's literally the perfect thing he could have done to completely negate everything Otto just did to get the town's trust and loyalty. And I love the actor of Otto here, just does amazing in this scene, yelling at Aegon. He's like, what have you done, the rat catchers? And Aegon's reaction, oh, I had them hanged. That just felt like a meme moment. And I love Otto goes, he's murdered innocent men. And Aegon goes, and one guilty one. So great humor here with the character of Aegon. And he says, we must act, and Sir Criston Cole has acted. So he doesn't like Otto's approach of not being aggressive. But see, Otto will bring up his father Viserys' dignity to Aegon. And Aegon says, F dignity, I want revenge, my father is dead. And Otto says he is, and we are the poorer for it. And Otto goes, he was right about you. And Aegon says, he made me the king. And then the laugh Otto does is amazing, but you knew he had crossed the line with Aegon right there. And he says, remove your badge, Sir Otto, which was nicely set up too. Not only was he intrigued by Cole this episode, Aegon, but he had planted that seed in his head, Lord Larys, that he should have his own hand, not his father's hand. Now, I think Lord Larry's wants himself to be the hand, so there's going to be an issue there with him and Cole, especially because Cole has been sleeping with Alicent. So again, I still banking on that. That's going to be Cole's undoing is Lord Larys, especially because he probably has the woman he wants and the position he wants. Now, what's amazing about this episode is we get another tense sequence in the episode like last week, and the tension is just ramped up here, and it's directed so well. I was on the edge of my seat this whole time with the twin sequence. And we get the twin showdown of Eric versus Eric, so they also have the same sounding name, look exactly alike. And I love that because of that, when Lawrence shows up to help, he's like, who's who? And there's a really close call at one point that made it extra tense where Rhaenyra falls right next to them as they're dueling. So she was like very close to getting slayed here. And then it gets very emotional between these twins. You see that the Eric that came to attack was like, you parted us, but I still love you, brother. You think he's going to kill that Eric, but then that Eric gets up, Rhaenyra's Eric, and kills the other Eric. Then he looks at Rhaenyra's like, your grace, forgive me, and he kills himself. So it's heartbreaking, you know, it took a piece of him killing his identical twin, and that's why he's asking for forgiveness to Rhaenyra to kill himself. But it was just really well done, the whole sequence leading up to the other Eric finding Rhaenyra's chambers and having Eric show up in the nick of time because of what we can assume the White Worm telling the guard. So Rhaenyra's good deed rewarded her. Now, at the end of the episode, we do get to see Otto talk with Alicent about everything that's happened. Otto wants to go to Old Town and see Darren Hightower there. He said he's more impressionable and he'll listen better. We have not seen Darren Hightower in the show yet, so that's cool to hear that mentioned, so we know that's coming. And I'm excited to see a character that's a Hightower that's not absolutely insane, or so we hope. But Alicent wants Otto to go to Highgarden and check in on the Tyrells, so you get exciting hearing Tyrells. Definitely thinking of Game of Thrones there. And Alicent says she'll speak sense to Aegon in the meantime. But you see, it's smart because they're having Otto now doing what Daemon is doing. They've both been broken off, but they're also going to work on things still at the same time and make sure alliances are loyal and taking more ground in this upcoming war. And again, she wants to tell him the sin of the Cole situation, but doesn't. He doesn't want to hear it. And she will go down the hallway to see Aegon crying. It's still her child. She still feels for him. He still is completely broken by what has happened to him and his son. And she goes and slaps Criston, shoves him around, but then it's quickly back to Pound Town between these two. So the way they ended it on that, I feel like there's huge importance and maybe some hint that Criston Cole, Alicent Hightower baby is about to come. So we will see. And that would be really hairy because as of right now, Alicent isn't with King Viserys to say it was Viserys' child. People would question whose child it even is. But overall, I'm going to give this episode a 9.1. I thought the first half and then the last sequence was incredible. And especially the writing in the first half was really, really good. Like I said, my only problem with the episode is just how they decided to patch together all of these side quest scenes, just touching base with all the little characters. Or maybe you could have blended one or two of those in the beginning and save one or two for the beginning of the next episode even. It just really slowed things down, I think, a little too much in that category. But again, I just think this show has been consistently amazing, and this is just another great episode, and it always leaves me so excited for the next week. So I'd love to hear your guys' theories, what you think of the episode, and no book spoilers, please. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of the House of Dragon. I am also reviewing the show Dark Matter, and I am also going to be reviewing Sunny on Apple TV, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.